I spoke to Damien Kay from the Outcast Band last week, and he was lovely, by the way. And so I had a really lovely chat with him, and we're going to play a couple of their songs and play the interview. As I said earlier, they're playing at Farnborough Football Club on the 3rd of June for Blag Promotions, fundraiser for the Zone charity, and they're being supported by Billy Liberator, so we'll play one of his tracks as well. Lovely Billy Liberator is a local artist who has played at the Fiery Bird a few times. Yeah, so this is Wreckage from the Outcast Band.
Talking to yourself for 17 days, words you don't understand. Been lying in bed, bandaging wounds, telling yourself you're not dying. Or you can blame me for it all, I don't care anymore if it means all that much to you. I just never saw the edge till we started to fall. What the hell was I supposed to do? And the wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that remains, washed up on the tide. The wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that's left of our lives. Trees in the field are all twisted and bare, have scattered their leaves to the wind. The flowers in the churchyard hang with despair and remind us of all of our sins. A black crow on a gravestone is calling my name. She carries my soul in her claws. And all the magpies are sleeping now, there's nothing worth stealing, and the swallows won't sing for us anymore. And the wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that remains, washed up on the tide. The wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that's left of our lives. Colour of coal, the cathedral has burned to the ground. Well, I lost my direction and I lost my religion. I can't believe in anything now. And it's a long way to fall. Well, I broke all my bones, and it's a long way to fall when your wings are in flames. Well, I'll find a place where I don't have to talk, and I'll change my face, and I'll change my name. And the wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that remains, washed up on the tides. The wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that's left of our lives. The wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that remains, washed up on the tides. The wreckage of me, the wreckage of you, is all that's left of our lives.
Right, I am delighted because two reasons. One is that I'm talking to Damien Kay from the Outcast Band, and the other reason is that he's playing locally on the 3rd of June for one of Blag Promotions, Pete Cole, very well known to this show, one of his events where he's raising money. This time it's for the Zone. So Pete does these events, doesn't he, where he raises it, but he does a different charity. So thanks for coming on, Damien, to spend your time here, and also because you'll be playing locally to us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
So what I love bands like the Saw Doctors and things like that. So when I heard your stuff, it was just great for me because I love like the mandolins, but also, is it true to say that it's got quite a, like they have, I'm not, obviously you can't compare bands, but that kind of thing where there's a punk parentage a bit, even though it's gone down the folk side sort of instrument route?
Yeah, I think absolutely. That's a nice way of describing it because, much as we embraced the sort of folk instrumentation, we didn't ever really set out to be a folk band as such. We wanted to retain a sort of a rock and particularly an indie element to it. So yeah, that does kind of your description quite well. Actually, a sort of slightly punky folk.
Yeah, because I'm in my 57, so I think there is that thing, and my background is from an Irish heritage. There is that thing of people having different faces and different heritages, and they bring a different thing into the melting pot of what music they're going to make in the future.
Sure.
And that's how it sounds like here. It's kind of, you bring all of that in, and then because you've got the really energetic ones, you like Garden Song.
Yeah.
And then the kind of more introspective wreckage.
Yeah, I think it's personally for me as a songwriter, I don't set out to write in a particular style, although obviously bands you are in shapes that, because when you write songs and you're in a band, you always have a view to it being performed by the band. But I love it's great from a writer's point of view because the flexibility of the Outcast Band leaves a lot of scope. So if I do write a sort of darker, more introspective song, then we can handle that really gently with a little bit of sweeping violin and stuff. But if I want to really go all out rock, then we've got a huge sort of wall of sound possibility with electric guitars as well. So it does leave it very open. It's great.
And you're saying about writing, the songs are very lyrical. Is that something that comes first, or?
Yeah, mostly actually. I know everyone works in different ways. I very rarely have a musical idea, although it has happened once or twice. But more often than not, I will get a line or a sort of a snippet of lyrics that I really like and I want to work on, or an idea, and then I will normally form it mostly lyrically first. Sometimes I'll get a bit like writer's block trying to finish one, so then I'll move over to the music and try and get a bit of inspiration from the way it's sounding to finish the lyrics off. That's happened a few times as well.
Is the inspiration something that just like, because I'm fascinated by how different people approach, well, actually I say how different people approach creativity, but it's more how creativity approaches people really, from what I can gather. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think it really is, and I'm not very good at the discipline of sitting down to write a song. I know, people. There are people who say that's the only way to do it, and they have to sit down until the song comes. It doesn't really work very well like that for me. Hence, sometimes I'll have huge drought periods of not writing very much at all, which can be frustrating. But I don't find I'm able to force it and be happy with the results. Yeah.
Can you recognise a switch, though? Can you recognise something that might switch it over, or is it just literally as random as an idea and it just sparks all the sort of whatever those receptors are that write songs in her brain?
It is really, yeah, and it can come at the strangest of times. I might be sort of driving along in the car and just get and this kind of spark of an idea just sort of implants itself, and then I'm kind of keen to get to where I'm going, so I can start writing some ideas down, and playing around with it. But it's also weird how I tend to have a sort of almost like a furrow that I plough for a while. So I've written we've written a whole album's worth of songs about the sea in various different sort of guides, if you like.
Yeah.
But I found it very hard to not write a song about the sea. Every time I tried to write a new song, it would be drawn back to that kind of theme. So I just went with it in the end and gave up trying to fight it. So we've ended up with an album's worth of material.
I think that's great, though.
Okay, I think.
No, I think that's really good, because there's that thing about this thing about writer's block, and they sort of say stop thinking about it, just go and do something else completely. But when you're saying about that, you got that theme, it's very hard. Something like the sea means so much to all of us. It's so like, generally, it's something that's almost primeval in our attraction to the sea, that you can't just look at it in one way. You probably feel a bit... I think it's quite a good thing to do 10 songs about it, because it's like my sister said to me once, there's 6 of us in a family. She said, but it's like we're looking at a different tree. Everyone's got a different perspective. So it's kind of really good that you're saying that you've pulled out... You can't help it, because I suppose it's that there's more to say, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting you say that, because I did resist it for a while, because I thought, this is going to get a bit boring. This is like, it was sort of like, by the time I got to the 4th or 5th song, I mean, I've always been very drawn to the sea. I think I was born in Cornwall. I don't know how much of that played a part in it, but so I've always written songs with a sea theme from time to time, but it just seemed I couldn't move on to write about anything else. And the minute I stopped trying to fight that, it was a much easier process.
Yeah.
And I just embraced it then. And you're absolutely right that, just because you've written 3 songs about the sea doesn't mean they're similar in any respect. The theme, the approach, the point of view that you're singing from or writing from can be so different. It's just this common theme that ties them loosely in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's so generous. And I think, to be honest, if my daughter can sit there and watch the Titanic over and over again for 10 times, I think it's fine for you to write a whole album about the sea. But when because you play guitar and sing, obviously, and mandolin, how did you get into that kind of instrumentation? I mean, was that something that you explored the mandolin after the guitar, or was there some sort of thing in your heritage? Or
not at all, actually. That's a really good question. So I was in just a guitar rock band, which I think was like 2 guitars, bass and drums. And I think I occasionally used an acoustic guitar, but mainly it was just 2 electric guitars. And we went to record at a studio, and the guy who was recording us was a very talented musician, and we had a slightly slower song. He said, well, do you mind if I try something out for you? We said, yeah, sure. And he grabbed this mandolin off the wall. I don't think if I had seen one before, I didn't know what it was. Yeah. And he just started putting these really gorgeous sort of twinkly bits in the background over this sort of fairly light track that we'd written. And I think I just fell in love with it then, and it just seemed to take what was a pretty standard rock format, and I'm not saying there's anything against that by any means, but what I thought was a pretty standard rock sound for us, it added another dimension. And I think I just fell in love with it from then, so I went and bought a mandolin almost immediately after that, so I could start playing around with that and seeing if I could introduce that into the sound at all.
Yeah, how did you find it to learn?
Okay. I mean, I don't profess to be a great player of it by any stretch, but it because I was used to forming guitar chord shapes. Obviously, the tuning's different, and the chord shape's different. But I think it's probably true to say that when you're comfortable, having played the guitar for years, learning another chorded instrument like that doesn't take a huge amount of time. Obviously, picking melodies and stuff is different, but similar to various extents.
The mechanics of it are quite... I mean, I haven't, but a friend of mine who's got a bass player said the mechanics of the tiny string, like just getting used to that kind of finesse is a bit harder, but is that kind of thing just changing. But I suppose that's really good, isn't it? Because exactly that, you want that different sound, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. It is different. I mean, your friend's right. You do have to play with more finesse, and if I'm quite a heavy-handed guitar player, so that was probably the hardest bit for me, was to learn how to play it a bit more delicately.
It's lovely though. It is a lovely sound. I do like the mandolin. I mean, you've done like over the years, over 500 shows. You've played like Glastonbury and the lovely Guildfest that we used to have, because you were a Surrey, Hampshire band, weren't you, before, at the beginning?
We were, yeah. Yeah, we were all based around Surrey and Hampshire. We're pretty spread out now, just because life takes you all in different directions. So now I'm living in Gloucestershire, Stroud in Gloucestershire, and John, our bassist, lives in Kent. So rehearsing means we try and be somewhere roughly in the middle.
Yeah.
It's quite a distance.
Oh well, so what were your kind of? I was just wondering about, because you see this stuff on, these groups digging out the old bands. I say the old bands. I shouldn't say that because it's us lot. But of those things. And how was that for you? What was the music scene like in the Surrey, Hampshire thing when you were? I know it wasn't that long ago, but music seems to change so much.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when we started, it was quite interesting, because I don't think there were many bands who weren't kind of in a rock blues format. That seemed to be a massive sort of blues scene, certainly around a lot of the suburbs. So it was nice for us, because we felt we were doing something a little bit different, albeit on a more global scale. It was not so different, but certainly locally it felt like. And I think that helped us establish quite a strong sort of local following fairly quickly. So it also helped, I think, the age of some of the band members. So we had a couple of band members were still at college, so they brought a lot of their friends, and the sort of student word of mouth really helped us as well. So yeah, it was really nice. It was a really vibrant. It felt like a really vibrant scene in the early 90s there in sort of Surrey, Hampshire.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was just wondering, I hope, it's taken a dip, obviously, as well with COVID and stuff like that as well, but I'm hoping, we're opening a venue here in Woking, so,
brilliant.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a off the beaten track in a way, even though it's, quite a big town. We've not really had a venue here for so long. So hopefully all the sort of grassroots, like the Aldershot, the West End Centre, places like that have prevailed, and that's been really good. But you're playing here in Farnborough, and I think it's the week after, is it, in Reading?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've got the Farnborough Football Club on the 3rd of June, which is the gig that Pete's organising, and then on the following Saturday we're in the Butler in Reading, which we've played a few times. Reading's always had a nice music scene as well. That was kind of one of the things we discovered a little bit later in the band's previous incarnation.
Yeah.
So, towards the mid-90s, we started to play a lot of good venues around the Reading area.
And I suppose maybe it's a university town. It's because I know there's spoken, because we used to do bands, but now we do spoken word with a bass. But we found that's really taken off, and Reading's one of the places that they have a lot going on there as well. But you're playing. Have you played with Billy Liberator before?
Oh, I don't believe so.
Oh right, okay. It's a great pairing. Well done, Pete.
Excellent. Well done, Pete.
Yeah, I think you'll really like him. He's a lovely guy, but great musician too. He's a local.
Good things.
So, is this something that you're now? Like you said, it's been going. The band's been going for years. Like most of us, you take sort of hiatus and get back again. What are the plans going forward? You've got the Longest Mile. That's the release. Is that the latest release?
Yeah, I mean, it is our latest release. That itself is 10 years old.
Oh, really?
Even more.
It doesn't sound... Yeah, but...
It doesn't feel very new, but it is our latest release.
Mind you, that time flies, but also it does sound like a lot more new and immediate than I thought. That's why I was thinking you might have been in the studio a bit more recently.
Right, well, thank you. That's nice to hear. It still feels quite new to us, although... we're quite excited. We do have, as I say, we have this new album, which we are just putting the finishing touches on right now. So I really, really hope that'll be available later in the summer.
Brilliant. Okay. And have you got any? Have you sort of planned festivals for this year, or has it just been focusing on the kind of getting the album out?
Yeah, really. We haven't gone sort of massively looking for gigs. I mean, COVID sort of shut everything down quite a bit, but what we have been doing is trying to just concentrate on getting this album finished. And the few gigs that have sort of come along, we've tried to group together, so it's a nice, sort of 5 or 6 weeks of gigs, and then we can get back to the album.
That's brilliant. Yeah, no, it's lovely, and it's lovely to hear from you and to hear it's all going so well, because as I say, it's a lovely kind of setup. That I do love. I love lyrical. It's my kind of thing when you can tell that the lyrics are important to the band, and that's what's clearly comes across here. So it looks like it's going to be a really great night on the 3rd of June.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much, and thanks for your kind words.
No, thanks a lot, Damien. Thanks for your time. So that was the lovely Damien from the Outcast Band. He mentioned the Garden song there, so let's just have a listen to that before we get up to the news.
Getting there higher and I'm scared to look back, 'cause it's such a long way down. Arms are tired and my eyes are sore. I can't even remember what I came here for. And if I just let go, will I ever make it to the ground? I'm scared, I'm all alone. I can't say which way to go. Hold my hand and lead me home. To your garden, to your garden, to your garden, to your garden. Falling in the darkness, gate light of flame. Shadows of my conscience, hold me to blame. I know I'm guilty, but I still don't know what I've done. I'll hang before the morning from a willow tree, a rope around my neck, and rosary beads, and I'll lay to rest in a grave without a stone. I'm scared, I'm all alone. I can't say which way to go. Hold my hand and lead me home. To your garden, to your garden, to your garden, to your garden.